Guys, deluded Gooner. Apologies about the background. It's a nightmare to pack away. It's very crushed up. I'm looking at it now through the camera. It's looking incredibly rubbish. But yeah, apologies for that. Let's get into it. Arsene Wenger. We know this transfer policy. He's come out and he said more things. It's not really. It's nothing he hasn't said before. But I thought let me make a video about it because it is kind of frustrating. Firstly, let me read it to you. I am very pleased with our market because we bought good players who can integrate with our style of play. That's what Wenger said. Next, that's what we want. On the other hand, it's very difficult today. The prices are out of proportion. The transfer market has become very demanding. There is no transfer market anymore because the price depends only on the identity of the buyer. And when you are English, you have straight away 50% extra on the price of a player, and that makes it difficult to act. Now, firstly, of course he's not wrong there. They not with the money in the Premier League, clubs abroad and at home, because you're seeing clubs are holding not just abroad clubs. You're seeing clubs like Stones, from Everton to City for Stones 50 million. You look about 5-6 years ago or so, that would never have happened. So they're in a position where they can command better fees and not be bullied anymore. Even the season before that, when Stones was actually meant to go to Chelsea, they dug their heels in. With the money in the Premier League, of course, overseas clubs know who we we've got money. I saw AC Milan signed Bonucci for 40 million. No English club would have signed him for that much. Didn't when I think Chelsea and City bidded for him 70 million or so, and it got rejected. Of course, things happened in Juventus's change room that resulted in him leaving. But if we look at it from that aspect, we know what we're getting into. I'm not advocating to waste money and get ripped off when the player is not quality, but clearly we know these things. It's here to stay that English clubs will pay a bit more premium. Two, we know players nowadays, they're not exactly worth the fee you pay. It's more for potential and things like that. So we need to adapt to the market. Yes, we found some good signings in Rob Holding last year because Leslie actually looks decent. 40 million for Xhaka is not exactly the most expensive, but it does look like he's going to be a decent player. But we've missed out on way too many because of this attitude. We clearly know we need to be more aggressive and somewhat a little less. Again, I'm not advocating just spending ridiculous money on players that are not worth it. But when it comes to that sort of player that we need to be aggressive about, that can take us to the next level, the very man who is saying this sounds like a bit of a hypocrite because he always says we're already 2 or 3 away. If you know you're only 2 or 3 away and you don't need to waste that much money, don't you pay the extra 10, 20 million, provided the player's worth it, and bite the bullet? Surely. Now he's also said I expect players to go because we have too many, it's not manageable, and many of clubs are in this situation. That's why the market's quiet. We have 33 players at the moment, and that's too many, which is true, and we do need to sell players on. But let me bring you back to the point of he said he needs two slash we only need two or whatever signings to improve the side, and it's too hard to find these sort of players. Last summer, and I've got it written down, last summer 96 million. We don't have the money to spend like the rest, but clearly there's money there when we deem a player that's worth it. Xhaka, like I said, is a good buy. Mustafi in time will be a good buy. Holding for 2 million is a steal. If we look back at 14-15, we 100. I now got it written down for you. 101 million spent on Alexis Sanchez and co. 15-16 only check. Because what did Wenger say? We don't need certain players. We're on the lookout for this sort of player. You saw it well documented. We tried to sign certain strikers for that big money. So surely, if you have the luxury of not signing a player when there's check, the summer we only signed check, not signing an outfield player. Surely, if that's the case, if that's the case, and you only deem that there's a few handful of players that can bring this side to the next level, surely when they come across and they come across your path, of course you want a deal, but surely when it gets to that, you spend the money a bit more reckless, a bit more less penny pinching, if this is the case, going by his logic. I mean, even if you look at when we signed Ozil, when Wenger is decisive in a player and he really wants them and he's not scared to spend money. I mean, the last two signings or so, big money signings, they've all been hits. But for every one example of that, his lack of decisiveness has caused us to lose out on Draxler, numerous players, Paul Pogba when he left United, numerous players. I don't need to sit here and name them all. The video will be way too long. But yeah, also our outgoings last year as well. So I got this written down: 17-18. Our last 3 summers, 17-18 outgoings are outgoing 17-18 20 million, 16-17 9 million, 15-16 2.5 million. This shows that we're not selling players for what they should go for. You look at Chelsea, they're getting rid of their dead wood, whether they're championship players. You know how they have them controversial signings like that Hector guy from Reading. I don't think they've let him leave, but they have them sort of signings that are bewildering. They'll make profit on these sort of players. I don't know if they made it on Atsu, but players like this, all them sort of players that have no chance of making it there, they make profit. United, when they're selling off their players, that whether it's Memphis and Adnan and these players, Of course, these players didn't hit potential, but they're letting them go in a way that they're protected and they will benefit from the future because they're going to get a nice little pretty earner if that player leaves the club they sold him to, and they've got a buyback clause. So if the likes of Memphis, for example, Adnan reach their potential or whatever, they can buy them back. Where is this? Where was that for Gnabry and things like that? If these outgoings were a bit more, we spent a bit more money. We spent a bit more money. We spent a bit. If our outgoings gave us a bit more money, that could be used to spend on other players. And what I was trying to allude to with 17, 18, 20 million, I don't know why I said 17, 18, but on the basis that you signed Lucas Perez last summer, Xhaka, Lucas Perez, and a couple others. But Lucas Perez, it comes out now that he clearly didn't rate him. You're seeing rumours of he signed him because of the stats program nonsense like Gabriel. I do think he liked him, but clearly he wasn't first choice. So if you have 20 million to sign on a player that you do not believe is first choice, a player really signed to appease the fans, would you not just take that million and slap it, 20 million and slap it on someone? Even if you look at last year when we could have signed Lacazette and we were penny pinching and differing, who knows what could have been the difference? He probably wouldn't have done that much, and we probably still would have had the season we had. But you never know, guys. I mean, we know like I said, we know the climate we're in. We know the climate. Thomas Lemar, for example, is he worth 50, 60, 70 million? No, I love the guy, but is he worth them fees? No. But these sort of players with the scope to grow and build and be sold on, and the way the market is going, surely, and the way we need a centre mid / winger, and he can play both of them, surely when these players come, and he clearly loved him from his Can days, surely when these sort of players come about, you just bite the bullet and pay. Like I said, I'm not advocating spending ridiculous money for no reason, but every now and again, there is certain players. I mean, like I said, if you can spend 20 million on Lucas Perez that you didn't really want, to me, you could have saved that 20 million and used it elsewhere and things of that nature. I mean, between struggling to move players on, between players on ridiculously deadwood on high wages, between not signing players, it is ridiculous. Of course, we're going to see the market heat up. It's the last 2 weeks or whatever in the transfer window. But yeah, it's just a bit hypocritical. I mean, for how many years did we say, oh, we've got a good squad, we're only needing to sign one or two more? Don't you just spend the big money for these players that are going to lift us? There's always going to be deals in football, but that's not the market anymore. It's adapt to survive. It's adapt to survive, and we failure to adapt, and that's why as a club we're stagnating. That's why as a club we're on the brink of disaster. I mean, it is ridiculous and it is worrying, to be honest, how despite signing all them fancy folk, lawyers, and all these transfer folk that were meant to help us, nothing's really changed. Like I said, it's 2 weeks in the transfer window left, so anything can happen. I'm hopeful for a player, but who knows, guys? Diludi Guna, I'm signing out. Thank you for watching, of course.